Hello friends! When you're troubleshooting a problem inside your applications, oftentimes figuring out exactly which part is breaking is one of the hardest parts. Traces are really good for helping with this because you can watch the flow of a user request as it moves throughout your application. And you can see all the different parts they might be stumbling on, like a page that's taking a lot longer to load, or an API that's crashing your application out. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can debug problems inside of your applications using traces and spans. Let's get into it. Here we have our application and we can see it's having some problems loading the products on the bottom. And when I come up and try to log in, we're getting an authentication failed issue. Now this looks like the authentication is down, so let's jump in and troubleshoot it. When I come into Sentry, I can hit this login API error that was created automatically. And I can scroll down to that traces and spans section and I can see that visual representation of the communication flow here. Now I can already see a few different areas that are having problems inside my app. That API for products is failing, and I can see those authentication issues. When I jump into this trace, I can see a lot more detail on all of those individual spans. Now I'm going to stay away from that API for the products right now because I really wanted to focus on debugging my authentication problems. And what we have here is a custom span that I've created. Custom spans are really useful because it lets you attach metrics that might matter to you or additional properties that are helpful for troubleshooting. All of these things can be queried later on when we go into Trace Explorer, and they can be used to create alerts or dashboard views. So they're really helpful, and getting started with them is as easy as wrapping the call in a start span. In this case, I'm seeing a login API error for this span for unauthorized. And when I go down and take a look at those properties that I've attached, we can see I've attached one for auth header property authentication. Now I'm going to take a look at the upstream service that this is calling out to, which is a post to the login API. And I can see another custom span that I've created for errorfix.login API. Now this one is returning a different error. This is getting an authentication header mismatch. So when I think of that other one's property being authentication, that probably matters. When I scroll down inside of here, I can see another property that I've attached on the back end for authorization. And so we can already see that there's a mismatch between those two, and debugging this is a lot easier because I set up those spans. Setting those up again is really easy inside of our API. All we have to do is come in and wrap the call in a start span. This is the backend one here, and this is the front end one that happened here. Wrapping these lets us bring in all of those additional properties and attach them to the calls, and now they're part of the spans every time they're called. So now we know what's wrong with it, and we can go in and make those corrections and match up those headers so it authenticates successfully. But what if I wanted to query this more and create those alerts and dashboard views that I talked about? I can come into Trace Explorer here, come up to this search field and start to search all of those individual spans. So in this case, I have one already set up for the auth login span operation. And when I click this, I'm seeing all of the spans that were called inside of my app. I can come up here and I can filter this down to a specific time range if I wanted to. I can start to change the visualization. And once I get to a query that I'm really happy with, I can come in here and I can create an alert for it or create a dashboard widget that makes it easier to view so I can get better views into how my service performs across the rest of my application. Traces and spans are really good for helping you see that request as it moves through your application and debug all of those weird parts of the application that might normally be really hard to find. We'd love for you to try them out. Let us know how it goes and how we can help. Talk to you soon.